Okay, I'm always confused by this live thing, and I hope I'm doing it right because it looks different right now. Let's see. Okay, it works. I had to check my own Facebook. Great. Good morning. Happy hump day. Hope everyone is well. Excited to get in some yoga stretch today. So I'm going to get started closer to 10 because I have to be on call for 11. So to get started, we'll start in a seated position. Have a pillow nearby if you have one. And also, I'm going to use a strap. You could also use a pillow if it's like small enough like this, or if you have a shirt, something to just like hold on to and pull on. Something long enough. As usual, I think we say this in the beginning of every yoga video, so it's definitely different to be teaching in this way because we're not able to respond to your bodies or to see your bodies. So just pay a little more attention to your body and the sensations. Make sure that if you're feeling anything outside of your stretch zone, if you feel anything pop or snap, definitely pull back. You can take child's pose at any point during the flow. Give me just a minute. Okay. And we'll start just by rolling the shoulders back. Find a nice, tall, straight spine. And just tap into the natural breath. Just notice the pace of your breath. Maybe elongate each breath from here. And I'll invite you to take a nice, big, deep inhale. We'll hold it at the top and exhale. Again, Deep inhale. Hold it for a moment at the top. And exhale to release. Release any tension in the shoulders. Maybe slouch into the back a little bit. Now on the next inhale, let's puff the chest forward a bit. Exhale to round the spine. Bring the chin to the chest. Inhale, puffing the chest forward a bit. Shoulders back, open heart. And exhale, round the spine, tuck the hips, chin to chest. One more time. Inhale, puff the chest forward. Exhale, rounding the spine. From here, we'll come to natural spine, and we'll just tilt the head from shoulder to shoulder really slowly with control. So during yoga stretch, I'll talk about what it means to build flexibility versus mobility. And the neck here is one example of how that shows up with flexibility. If you could take the left hand up and over, grabbing the other side of the head, you can pull that right shoulder down and back. Giving yourself a tug here, which I won't cue you to do, would help to lengthen the muscles in the neck. But mobility would mean, without the arm there, just how far do the joints allow for this motion? You can turn toward the shoulder, grabbing the back of the head. So I'll bring us through a series of stretches where we'll be able to explore the difference between flexibility and mobility. You can switch to the other side, grabbing the head with the right hand and bringing that left shoulder down and back. You can reach the hand away toward the floor or flex the wrist. Tapping into the belly breath here, bringing the breath down into the abdomen, down toward the hips. And then turn toward the shoulder, grabbing the back of the head. So flexibility is like passive, kind of usually pressure on the joints in order to lengthen the muscles. Here we'll talk about raising the arms up. Here we're finding the contraction in the back of our shoulders to bring our arms up. And demonstrate this for you sideways. Something that we might find here is like a falling head, or the arms are not able to come up all the way, or there's a tilt in the spine backwards or forward. So the goal here is trying to find a straight spine, having the ribs float directly above the hips, and with the arms up and over, trying to contract and pull back on the arms, trying not to pull the chin down to compensate, keeping the head straight, keeping the shoulders back, open chest. Just allow the arms to raise up. And this can be really tiring because it's not a motion that we do often. But this is one that, there are a ton of different ways that we can find flexibility and mobility in our body, but what's actually useful. So here, just again, trying to find that contraction, keeping the shoulders in their sockets. You can release down, exhale, and just to compensate for what we just did, let's round in the spine. You can grab underneath the knees, kind of pull yourself in toward your legs, and then come back to a neutral spine. We'll do it one more time. Maybe notice the difference doing it a second time, what naturally happens in your body. In my body, my chest tends to pull forward here. So what I always try to do is kind of find that tuck here. Then when I find that tug, I always notice my neck goes down, so I'm pulling my chin back up, trying to find that openness in the heart and in the chest. So opposed to this mobility here, which is finding the strength to allow this movement in our joints. One way to find flexibility is to grab either hand behind you and pull down. And for most people, I would say that's not accessible. And that's why I say use a strap or a shirt here. If you hold up with the right hand and then let it dangle to find the left hand, you can pull down this way. So this is bringing that same motion here in the joint, but we're allowing it to be passive. We're kind of pushing ourselves into it. And from here, we'll switch to the other side. So holding on with our left hand, and we can come behind our back with the right hand to pull down. Again, trying to keep a nice long spine. Try to keep the shoulders open, trying not to puff the chest forward. And release. I would say arm mobility is where I struggle most. So another way to find mobility in the arms here is, we'll actually demonstrate this on the floor first. So you can find your mat or come flat on the floor on your belly. And from here, we'll have the hands directly above our head. And with the nose toward the ground, you can kind of hover the head a little bit. We're gonna just raise the arms up. And already for like 2 seconds, it's just like a lot. This kind of contraction, it involves a lot of mental work. And if your arms aren't able to reach up from there, if the work is just getting them off the floor, you can use a pillow on your chest and having the arms straight out, again, keeping them in their sockets. You don't want to stretch them out too far before you move the arms up. And finding deep breaths here, focusing on the sensation. And release. We'll take a moment to bring the hands behind the back. Just for a couple breaths. And we'll bring the arms back out again. Lift for a few breaths. And release. And you can remove your pillow if you joined in with that. Coming back to the seat. So you're able to see and feel now in the shoulders, like just what that difference is between trying to find that flexion and kind of passively getting yourself into this position versus how much can we raise the arms up overhead, how much can we bring the arms back. So to give kind of like a more extreme explanation here, I might be able to find a split, like pushing myself into the floor like this, but that doesn't necessarily mean that standing up, I have the mobility and the strength to just lift my leg all the way up. So that would be the difference between like a really extreme versus here for flexibility and mobility. So moving forward, we'll stretch out the shoulders. We can drop the head side to side again. So after that shoulder work, just opening up these muscles, bringing some length. You can drop the chin to the chest and slowly just move from shoulder to shoulder. And from here, to warm up the spine, we'll go into a twist, bringing the right hand to the left knee and the left hand behind us. Try to find a nice tall spine on the inhale And exhale, you can deepen your twist. Inhaling to find a nice, long, tall spine. Exhale, going deeper into the twist. And after that round of breath, raise the hands up and over to come to the other side. Left hand to right knee and the right hand behind us. Again, we're inhaling to find length. Exhale to deepen. And release, coming back to center. We'll drop the right hand on our right side, raising the left hand up and over, stretching the left side body. So just continuing my thoughts in our exploration on mobility and flexibility, there are ways that I think we all can benefit from being mobile and exploring our mobility. And there are ways that it's not as productive. We can switch to the other side, dropping the left hand, keep that right hip and that right knee down, stretching the right side body. Um, like splits and tricks are not necessary for everyone, but there are motions that are beneficial to each of us, and those are the ones that I will focus on in this clip. Take a gentle forward fold. Here it can be nice to have a pillow. So having the pillow right ahead of us, you can drop the head, allowing just a moment of relaxation here. And when you're ready, you can push yourself back up and throw the pillows to the side. We'll meet in tabletop. So here we can stack the knees below the hips and the wrists below the shoulders. And we can inhale to send the hips back, open the chest, pressing into the mat with all fingers, all of the knuckles, and exhale, rounding the spine, tuck the hips, and just syncing this motion to your breath. Maybe try to go even slower. From here, we'll press into the wrists a bit, so crawl the hands closer to your body and just notice the sensation in your wrists. You can press them further away. Try not to put too much weight onto them. And once you feel into the sensation, you might find your limit, like how far you can crawl the hands before you get kind of an unpleasant sensation. And here you can kind of start to add weight onto the arms. So opening up the back of the wrists here, we're finding how much we can press into the flexibility here. Maybe play with how much weight you can press forward. You can kind of gradually go into this. So flexibility here would look like pressing in as much as we can every day. That would be building kind of that flexibility here in the forearm, but how much can we actually flex without putting that weight in? And that's the mobility part. So here we can flip the fingertips toward the body and very, very gently pressing into this, maybe curling the fingers. You can play with this a little bit. And then we'll flip back to the other side, so palms down. Again, being super, super gentle here. I like to just like pedal into this. And I'm gonna flip one more time. And then from here we can roll the wrists. So maybe notice the difference here in the sensation in the wrists after stretching them out. And then we'll try to practice bringing some flexion here, contracting the muscles, so engaging as much as we can in the arms, just to flip the wrists up. And now flipping down. Think about how much you can contract, how much you can pull the fingertips toward your body. And from here, if you haven't yet, you can come back to seated, maybe on your pillow, or just crisscross. From here, we'll spread the arms out wide, and we'll cross the right over the left. And if you want, you can bend in this left arm, bringing that right shoulder down and back, opening up the upper back, the shoulders, maybe rotating the wrists again. And reaching out again, we'll cross the left hand over the right, hugging the body, and then you can bend in the right and stretch out that left, bringing that left shoulder down, rotate the wrist. And when you're ready, you can release. We'll roll the shoulders back. And roll the shoulders forward. And again, we'll raise the arms up and over. On the inhale and exhale, release. We'll raise the arms up again. Inhale, exhale, release. Inhale up, exhale, release, building mobility in the arms and the shoulders here. From here, you can grab your strap or your shirt, again, whatever piece of cloth you have. From here, kind of finding that same um, mobility in the joints here in the shoulder, we're going to go the opposite way. So this is kind of exploring how far back are we able to move in this direction with the arms. One thing that can be helpful is pointing the thumbs toward each other behind us, holding the strap or whatever you have. Maybe it's a blanket, maybe it's a shirt. You can find some space in the shoulders first, make sure the back is nice and straight, and maybe as far as we can go is just against the floor. And the work here can just be in finding that contraction in the back of the shoulders, finding that engagement in the entire upper back between the shoulder blades and the arms. And maybe you can lift just a little bit. I think this is as far as I can go. Ooh. Breathing into this. We spend so much of our time sitting down on chairs with the arms forward, either on a computer or on our cell phones, writing on paper. This motion is one that's like just not as common. So it's really good to open up this part of the body. You can release on the exhale. And again, we'll bring the arms forward. You can feel nice to have a pillow. We'll just do a gentle forward fold to counter what we just did. And when you're ready, we'll come back up. And we can get ready to strap. We're going to meet again in tabletop. And I'll invite you to bring a pillow beneath your body as well. So from tabletop, let's come into plank. Whatever your plank is, you can have your pillow beneath your knees, maybe dropping the knees down. And if you don't have a pillow, it's okay to just have the knees on the floor. And if your knees are on the floor, definitely just keep the pillow nearby. And here we're pressing into the mat with the base of the thumbs, pressing in with each of our knuckles. And from here, we're going to go up into downward dog. So tucking the toes behind us, we'll send the hips up. Very bent knees here is okay. We can pedal into this first downward dog. And we'll only be here for just a moment. Keep the shoulders in their sockets. Keep pressing into the floor with each corner of the hand. And then keeping the hands and feet where they are, come back to plank. You can drop the knees. And we'll send back up into downward dog. Pedaling out again. From here, bring the feet a little bit closer. You can crawl the hands toward the feet for forward fold. Take a couple breaths here. You can have the knees slightly bent. You can have them totally straight. Whatever feels good for you here. And when you're ready, we'll slowly roll up the spine from the bottom to the top, rolling the shoulders back. From here, we're going to drop that right foot ahead of our pillow, and we're going to go down into a lunge. So go as far as you feel you have capacity for. When we bend into the front leg here, we can drop forward to frame the foot with the hands. And drop that knee down to the pillow. On the right side, we're trying to stack the ankle directly under the knee. And one way to engage with mobility here is having that flat foot behind you, pressing into the floor to like really engage with the foot, and then also pressing into the floor with the heel on the right side. So this is allowing us to build the strength here. We might be able to find enough flexibility to like extend in this back leg. But with the idea of mobility here, we're trying to find that kind of isometric pull between the two. From here, you can press the left hand into the mat and send the right hand up and over for a gentle twist, keeping the same engagement in the legs, maybe finding that same engagement in the butt and the lower back, opening the chest even more, connecting to the breath. And you can drop that hand down. From here, especially if you have a pillow, maybe adjust it to wherever you need it to be, dropping that back knee and straightening the front leg. So here, we're finding flexion in the ankle and pressing the knee, pressing the heel down into the floor. Sometimes this being up straight is as far as we can go. Sometimes a slight hinge. And if we're here and we find that the back is arching, just come back up. Try to find a flat back. Try to press the chest forward first. And the work for you could just be in finding, where's that comfortable moment? How can I settle into this stretch? And once you've found that settlement, that's when I would say you can engage and really press into the floor with the heel. And when you're ready, you can bend back into this lunge. Again, finding that kind of isometric tension between the legs, trying to pull the heel back toward that left foot. We'll take one more breath here in a low lunge. And after your exhale, we'll tuck the toe behind us, lift the knee, send that left heel back as long as you can. And from here, again, pressing into the floor with the left hand, we're going to take the right hand and press it inward next to our knee. So not on the knee, but right behind it. And if we can, pressing up. So keeping that isometric tension between the legs. You might really feel a stretch here in the left side and the hip, in front of the hip, in the hip flexor. And if you can, find the challenge of raising the hands up and over like we did before. Try and keep that flat back. It can feel nice to goalpost. Maybe it feels better to have the hands straight up. And when you're ready, we'll release down. We'll take a breath here in the lunge again. And we'll take that right hand to bring it over to the other side and crawl that right foot outward. So here the toe is pointed away, kind of diagonally, and you can find the contraction here in the right hip flexor. And if it feels good, you can drop down a bit. Maybe this is as far as we go. Either way, we're trying to sink down into the hips a little bit more. It's kind of like a half squat on one side. And when you're ready, you can crawl the foot back in. We'll press into the floor with both hands and send that right foot back for plank again. Let's take a moment to really, really engage in the legs. Again, keeping the knees dropped is totally okay. And we'll send the hips up for another downward dog. And from here, let's crawl the hands toward the feet, rolling up the spine. Roll the shoulders back when we get to the top. We'll find our grounding, pressing the feet into the floor. And from here, we'll step that left foot forward. And coming down for a low lunge, drop that knee onto the pillow. And again, find that isometric tension, trying to bring that left heel toward that right foot, pressing forward with the right hip. We'll take a few breaths here. And with the right hand, we'll press into the mat, opening up with the left, bringing the left up toward the ceiling, keeping that engagement in both legs. And drop that hand again to frame the foot. From here, we're going to send back, so maybe adjust that pillow, coming up onto the knee. And from here, we're trying to find that length in our spine. You can press the heel into the floor. And if you can, find your way to crawl forward. So if I were looking for flexibility here, I might fold forward completely over the leg, but what we're trying to do is build our mobility. So reaching forward with the chest as much as we can, and then really engaging in that entire leg, pressing into the mat with the heel. Stay just like that. I'm going to turn the heat down really quickly. And after that next round of breath, you can come back to lunge. We'll take a couple breaths here in low lunge. And we can tuck the right toe behind us, pressing into the floor. And this is a challenge. If you want to keep the knee down, that's totally okay. The challenge here is, again, keeping that isometric tension between the legs. Lifting up, we can press into the leg behind the knee. And if you feel up for the challenge, raising the arms up and over. And you can drop the hands, frame the foot. We'll bring the left hand to meet the right and crawl that left foot outward. So the toes are pointing out diagonally. And we can drop that foot behind us, making sure that that back leg is not totally dead. We're pressing that right hip forward, and we're finding that contraction in the left hip flexor. And if it feels good for you, you can come down to your elbows. Some people like to come down to their elbows and even go into a twist against the floor. This is good enough for me today. Last couple breaths on this side. I'll actually invite you to even lift the toes up, flex the toes up toward the ceiling to find a little more engagement. And when you're ready, you can crawl the foot back between the hands. From here, we're going to press in to the floor with the left foot to try to bring the right foot to the left. So stepping in here, dropping that foot, we're in a forward fold now. Here you can bend in the knees, and we'll slowly, again, roll up to standing. And when you've come to standing, we'll roll the shoulders, rounding the feet. You can press into the floor with both feet. So the next stretch we'll do here is called a goddess squat. Cool. So bringing the heels right below the hips, we'll crawl out just a couple of steps. So going into a squat, this is kind of really like up to you and your body on where your limit is. If you're not usually, if squats are not a part of your practice, excuse me, and you know that you're not able to like fully squat down completely, I would do this with something to hold on to. So this is how I've seen it cued before. I'm going to use the edge of my chair. And if it is a part of your practice, just pillows are enough. But if you feel like it's not going to work out for you very well, pillows and something to hold on to. So the edge of your couch, the edge of your chair, or whatever's nearby. So again, feet are out a bit further from the hips, but we're trying to find where do we have like enough motion and wiggle room to drop down our hips beneath our knees. So trying to find a flat spine here. I'm gonna like do this wrong a couple times just to show you a demonstration. So dropping down into my squat, I might want to bring my head forward or round my chest. What I'm trying to find here is a nice flat, tall back, and to just drop down vertically into the squat. So finding my pillows beneath me, holding on just so I don't fall backward, trying to bring the knees out as much as I can wherever I find my limit. And then the important part here, again, keeping the flat back, is also to keep the heels onto the floor. So a lot of times you might want to compensate by lifting the heels up. We're trying to keep the heels, keep the toes on the floor, drop into your squat. Again, having your support can be really helpful because sometimes we find ourselves leaning back, we find ourselves coming forward. So trying to keep a straight spine, trying to keep the shoulders opened up. In this squat, one thing you can do to find more mobility here is to engage in both of the hip flexors. So just like we did on the floor, doing it half after our lunges, we're finding that kind of forward motion with the outer hips, trying to find that contraction, and then again, pressing into the floor with the feet, finding the breath. And one way to challenge yourself here, if you continue this into your practice, is to like drop pillows away and find how low you can get to the floor. Some people like to push away the knees with the elbows, as long as the back is staying flat, as long as we're connecting to the breath. Pillows away. And when you're ready, you can press back up, making sure that we're gentle here on our hips and on our knees. You can use your support to pull forward and up and bring the toes back to straight. We'll take a moment here to roll the shoulders back, bring the hands into like invisible back pockets, and just gently press the hands into the lower back, pressing forward the hips, finding some space in the chest, opening up we're kind of counter stretching here in the hip flexors, and then you can pull back. So we'll go into squat one more time. Maybe find that sensation in the hips before you drop down. Think about where your limit is, knowing where that is, finding the right position, and then coming into the breath. And maybe if you did this with a couple pillows the first time, you can try dropping one pillow away. And a reminder, again, to press into the floor with the feet. Try not to lift the heels from the ground. Try not to send the neck forward. And when you're ready, we'll press up. Rolling the shoulders back when we come to standing. And we'll do the same thing, pressing the hands into invisible back pockets here. Pressing the palms into the upper butt, lower back. Send the hips forward, engaging in the legs. Open the chest. Bring the shoulder blades even closer to each other. Take a nice deep breath, and on the exhale, you can release. So I'll come back to my mat. Once we're here, let's meet seated again. We'll come to our butts. And finding, again, length in the back, we can press the chest forward, knees up in the air. And we'll slowly, with control, lower down to the floor. Once we're here, we can windshield wipe the legs. And we'll come back to center. Let's lift the right leg up, so pressing that right heel away. Finding engagement here. Let's point and flex. And from here, let's just test for ourselves, where are we trying to pull the entire leg, keeping it straight. What is on my foot? Okay, it's gone. Keeping it straight and trying to keep that engagement in the leg. How far back can we pull? You might find it shaky. Mine is definitely shaking right now. And then you can release, coming back down to the floor. We'll do the same thing on the left side. So pressing the heel up toward the ceiling. Notice the sensation here when we bring engagement to the entire leg. And then explore how much can we pull. Bringing that same flexion in the hip flexor. Pressing away with the heel, trying not to press down into the floor with the right foot. Just using the work in the left to press away, trying to bring the toes toward the face, and we can release. We'll do the same thing again on the right side, pressing the heel away. This time, using flexibility, a flexibility practice, we can interlock the hands either up here by the calf or down below the knee. And we can try to pull, so keeping the hips square to the floor, trying to pull toward the body with the hands, and finding this kind of isometric tension, pressing away with the heel. So the heel is trying to make this motion, but the hands are trying to pull toward you. So maybe this is happening like down here for us, and that's totally okay. Maybe it's here. Maybe some people are crazy and like super bendy like me. This is not, again, like Not to say that this is healthy or unhealthy, but this is just bendy flexibility. It doesn't do much for me as far as motion, but to build some of that mobility, I'm pressing away with the heel, trying to press down toward the floor, and the hands are pulling in. Once you found your breath here, we'll do a couple more. And then release. We'll bend the knee here and drop the ankle on the left knee. And we'll interlock the hands behind the left thigh, bringing in the legs toward the body. The work here can be bringing the legs toward the body and then trying to find a flat back against the floor. Or maybe we start with the flat back against the floor and then start pulling in toward the body. Some might find it's helpful to push away the knee with the right elbow, and it can feel good to rotate in the left ankle. And release. We'll drop both feet down to the floor. And we'll do the same thing on the left side. So pressing that heel up and away. Maybe exploring with how much mobility we have here without trying to press too much into the floor in the right foot. How far back can we flex? Pulling in the leg toward the body. Please don't compare yourself to me. And release. Let's bend the knee a little bit. And we'll flex up one more time. Let's grab the back of the leg, again, either at the calf or the thigh, and trying to pull the leg toward the body or pressing with the leg, with the heel, toward the floor. I forgot to add, if you have a strap as well, this could be really, really nice with a strap or with a shirt. So if you ever have time to practice this at home, you want to throw this in right now, having the strap to be able to pull and then use that isometric tension to push away can be really, really, really nice. But if you don't have a strap or a shirt, totally fine to just grab the back of the leg. One more breath here. And release. You can bend in that knee. We'll drop the ankle to the right knee and then thread the fingers behind the right thigh. Pull in toward the chest. Again, the work can be in trying to keep a flat back to then pull in, or we could pull in and try to find that flatness there. So whatever works best for you, just tap into that belly breath. Allow a nice slow round of breaths here. Maybe rotate in that right ankle. And release. We'll drop the feet back to the floor just to bring the knees back up again toward the chest. And we'll hug the knees in toward the chest. Maybe find a really gentle rock back and forth. And when you're ready, we'll release. We're going to bring the left foot down to the floor and keep that right knee in. And with the right knee in, bring it to a 90-degree angle, and we'll drop it open to the right side. So opening up this right side hip, we can press that left hip down into the floor. Sometimes I like to massage with my left thumb knuckle and my left hip flexor. These muscles must be a little bit tired now that we've worked into them through this flow. give yourself a moment just to rub it out a little bit. And from here, we'll scoop under that right knee with the right hand and pull it over our bodies to drop onto the other side. So the right knee is now dropped onto the left side of the body. We can reach that right hand up and over. And from here, the right knee might lift up off the ground. That's okay. And if it does, I would say it's best to grab your pillow or throw it under the knee and try to bring the shoulder down to the floor. We can use that left hand to maybe help keep this leg in position. And it can feel nice to straighten out that left leg just a little bit more. On the inhales, we'll reach up and away with the right hand. And exhale, release the shoulder down to the floor. Inhale to reach up and away. Exhale, release into the floor. One more time. Inhale, reach up and away. Exhale, release to the floor, turning the chin all the way to the right to complete the rotation. And we'll release from this. We'll bring both knees back up again. Drop that right leg down to the floor. If you do have your pillow, you could bring it onto the other side. And we'll lift that left leg at a 90-degree angle. Open it up to the left side. And again, maybe massage out that right hip flexor. Maybe notice the difference in sensation from the left and right side. And now let's scoop under the left knee and bring it over to the other side. And drop it on your pillow if it's there. You can reach that left hand up and over. Stretch and reach on the inhale. Exhale to release the shoulder down to the floor. Inhale, stretch and reach away. Exhale, release the shoulder to the floor. Inhale, stretch and reach. And exhale, release the floor, turning the chin all the way to the left to complete a spinal twist. And coming back to center. We'll keep the knees up toward the ceiling. This is our last stretch before we go into Shavasana. Here we're making sure that the knees are stacked relatively below the knees. The ankles, stacked below the knees. Maybe to where our hands can almost touch the feet. Going into a bridge, we're going to press into the floor with the heels, sending the hips forward, giving us again another stretch in the hip flexors. Maybe crawling the shoulders closer toward each other. Take a couple breaths here. Make sure to really put that pressure into the floor with the heels and with the outer edge of the feet. And on the next exhale, you can release the shoulders and roll down from the top of the spine to the bottom. We'll do this one more time, pressing into the floor. Crawl the shoulders toward each other, maybe clasp the hands and flip the palms toward the ankles. And releasing the hands, we'll exhale to release down to the floor. We'll spread the legs out long, spread the arms out, going out to a big X. And we'll inhale to reach all the limbs far away from the body. And exhale, release. You can let out a nice sigh. We'll do that a couple more times. Inhale to reach out as far as we can with all the limbs. And exhale. This time, let's really let it out. Inhale. Reaching the arms far and wide. Exhale, sigh. From here, we can bring the hands down by the hips. Releasing the limbs, release the neck. Let go of any extra weight that you're holding in the torso. Find a comfortable position here for Shavasana. And I'll invite you to send the breath down toward the hips, allowing the belly to inflate on the inhale and deflate on the exhale. And as I mentioned in every flow, corpse pose, shavasana, at the end of every yoga flow is a symbol of the end of life and of the practice of death. So I take the time here to remember those who have passed. Feeling grateful to be alive and to have an able body. And I'll invite you into just a couple breaths here. Inhale, nice and big. Exhale, slow. Exhale. Release any tension in the body. Again, inhale, nice and big. Exhale, release the shoulders down. Relax the head, release the arms, release the hands into the floor. One more time, inhale. Bring as much air into your body as you can. We'll hold it just for a second at the top. And exhale, release your weight into the floor. And when you're ready, you can curl up onto one side in fetal position. Just take a moment of comfort here before we come back up for our closing breaths. Maybe find a pillow to sit on to close. Again, find a nice tall spine. And for our closing 4 breaths, you can have your hands at heart center, over your heart, or just relax at your knees. A breath for the ancestors that we bring to this space, and for the indigenous people who were here on this land before colonization. Breathing in and out. A breath to thank ourselves for our practice today. Breathing in and out. A breath to appreciate others for their support. Breathing in and out. And a breath for the community we're building here today. Breathing in and out. Namaste. I hope we've all learned a little bit about our own bodies, about our flexibility and mobility. Definitely encourage you all to practice some of these mobility stretches on our own. Shout out to Jen Avery for the design of this whole outfit, except the shorts. I think that's her. She's somewhere on this. Yeah. Happy Wednesday. Bye.